So, you're thinking of buying UMR key. You remember all the good loot.
Baby! Babalino!
But is it worth it now? We ran UMR 18 times to find the answer to that question. And what we'll show you is a few of the door openings, the overall Loot-alytics of these runs, and maybe a conclusion that'll surprise you on whether or not you should get the UMR key. And so first up, the good raids. First UMR of the night. Bandage. Cat. Nothing. Couple. Ooh, Melodon. Okay. Bandage. CMS. So that's not great. That's not great. So these were the top 6 raids based on overall value that we got out of UMR. And unfortunately, what you'll notice is that there was no super high tier piece of loot in any of these raids. Instead, what we got was a good amount of mid-tier gear. Think IFAKs, CMS kits, injectors. And because it was in a decent quantity, it really helped increase the overall value of the raids. Ultimately, though, this was a lot of the loot that I'm running each and every raid, so these runs felt super valuable to me, and were absolutely the 6 best raids that we had of the 18. Next up, the middle tier. All right, UMR, y'all. Let's see what we got. Propy. Grizz. Bandage. Oh, a couple of stimmies. Ooh, 2 propies. That's the haul we're looking at. Not terrible, but again, just like no high tier item. You know, like if I'm running dedicated for loot, that leaves a bit to be desired. So these middle tier raids, I would say, differ from the top tier raids in terms of one of 2 things. Either there was less quantity of loot, which just meant that the raids were a little bit less valuable to us, or there wasn't that one really decent piece of item that we were looking for. Again, think of like a CMS kit, an injector, maybe like an ibuprofen. And without either the overall quantity or that nice cherry on top piece of loot, it's really what separated these 6 from the top 6. And while these raids were still worth it, definitely was hoping for a little bit better here. Now on to the worst tier. Okay, we desperately need a CMS kit in here. Desperately. Come on, baby. Oh, empty shelf. Empty shelf. Nasol, Propitol, Adrenaline. Oh, bandage. Let's not forget the bandage. That is incredibly disappointing. Oh, there's a CMS. There's legitimately better medical loot outside. So, these were the 6 worst raids we had, and I like to call this tier the I wish I was looting another map tier. As we all know, though, since dynamic loot has been introduced, oftentimes the loot behind these locked doors has not felt worth it. And that's really what we saw with these 6 raids. We were getting a small quantity of mid to low tier loot. The loot was bad, and I can assure you it felt bad looting it. But at the end of the day, it was still something to put in the backpack, and still happy I swung by. And from here, we're going to look at the overall Loot-alytics of all 18 raids. What you see here is the final Loot-alytics for all 18 raids. And we broke it out into the loot we got in each raid, as well as the overall loot we got on all 18 raids on that middle chart. And we broke it out into the vendor price, the flea market price, and then overall how much we made. And as you can see, through the 18 raids from vendor prices, we made just over 840,000 ruples. And on the flea market, that would be 1.5 million ruples. Now, from this information, you can really draw 2 conclusions, depending on if you're a glass half full or glass half empty person. The easy negative conclusion, I said it earlier, was there's no high tier loot. There's no Ledx, no Defib, no Ophthalmoscope. That's not to say they're not on the loot tables for UMR, but we just didn't see them. And it's easy to draw the conclusion that, oh, UMR is not worth it from that perspective alone. But when we think about it, the UMR key, last I checked, was roughly 800,000 ruples. Now, we used 20% of our key, and just selling that money to the vendors, we covered the cost of our key, and we still have 80% of the raids to go. Now, of course, that's assuming that we survived all of our raids, but even if you had a 20% survival rate, and you put nothing in your gamma those other raids, you're still paying off that UMR key, just purely from selling the loot to the vendors. Now, if you're like me, and you are running a lot of this medical loot, well, that's where the flea market prices come in. Because rather than this being the money that you made, it's the money that you saved by having these practical medical items already available to you. And from that perspective, I think the key's absolutely worth it. And so the conclusion is the UMR key worth it? And I would tell you that it depends on how you're running it. If you are an interchange runner, like I used to be, and you are already running this map, absolutely get UMR, because it is an easy way to add some medical loot alongside the other technology loot you're already getting. To put it in perspective, we ran 18 UMR runs, and it only took us 21 overall interchange runs to get it, and every single time the power was turned on, we got UMR uncontested, even if we went to the room 10 to 15 minutes after power was turned on. Now, if you are thinking about using UMR as a way to make ruples, that's where I would tell you that this key is not worth it. There are just better maps out there if you're looking to just purely make ruples. In my opinion, the Lighthouse map is still far and away the best loot map, and if you are unfamiliar with it or looking on how to loot it, we do have a nice video showing you how to do that. Let me know, how has UMR been to everyone who has the key this wipe? Let me know. I'm always curious to hear. And if this video was helpful, please feel free to give me a thumbs up. I hope everyone has a great day, and I look forward to seeing you guys on our next video or live on Twitch.